Hi, hello, Wagwan. Welcome to another episode of the group chat. Today in the chat, I have a very special guest. Now, mind you, all of my guests are special. However, I have Chris Francis here with me today.
Hello, hello.
Sorry, I called your whole government. I know
Yeah,
if you want your government
it's
on
fine.
there.
Everybody know me by both, so it's
There we go,
fine.
there we go. So Chris Francis and I went to high school together, which is why I'm saying he's a special guest because this is our first time seeing each other since graduation, pretty much.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
2010.
Nice, nice. And he literally just pulled up on me, so you guys are going to get to watch us literally catch up in real time.
All right.
Okay? All right, so let's take them back a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about like high school. What was high school like for you?
High school was great. I enjoyed it a lot. I came over here after being in high school in Florida, so I
Mm-hmm.
went my ninth grade year, and then got shipped back up here to Atlanta. And it was new at first, being at MLK for one, because I called it like a HBCU high school,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. I've known from coming to mixed environment, so going to MLK, that was a little different at first, but it felt good to be around your people. That
Yeah.
was something that definitely made me proud. Um, it was full of adventures, honestly. I played football, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
so that always kept me busy. But that camaraderie of all the different friend groups, being able to touch different individuals, that felt pretty good. That's something that really made high school great for me. So I had no complaints.
Okay,
What about
okay.
you?
It was the same. Ironically enough, you said you finished ninth grade in Florida and started 10th grade in MLK?
Yeah, ninth grade, second semester, but yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay, so you did second semester at MLK.
yes.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I finished ninth grade in New York, and then I started 10th grade at MLK. So,
Mm-hmm.
pretty close. And like you said, the different friend groups was definitely something that was empowering being at MLK. Because, like you said, kind of like a HBCU where everybody had a place.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, seeing us all in the lunchroom, like, you have this group over there, and everybody's just like still having a good time coexisting together in all of their differences.
Exactly. I
Okay.
made everything come together.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons to why I started this podcast was to kind of like highlight how we all still connect more than we do differ.
Mm,
Because one thing I know for me being in high school, I feel like I was able to connect with at least one person from every group,
yeah.
right? Because it was just like more focused on just you as an individual and not so much on your social class or what your home looked like or which side of town you live on. When we were at MLK, we were all
We were all,
one
yeah.
team,
All
MLK
one.
Lions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So that's pretty cool. And now shifting, like, did you go to college after high school?
Yeah, after high school, and this is no knock to anybody who's with HBCUs, but I was like, I got to get back to that mixed pot
Mm-hmm.
because I know the world is kind of like that too. So I was ready to kind of venture out. So I went to Jacksonville State University
Okay.
in Alabama. So that was great. It put me back in that mixed bucket. It had a little bit of everybody there.
Okay.
So quiet town, not a super crazy college town. We had to kind of travel out to other
Mm-hmm.
colleges if we wanted to
To
really
have
have
fun.
fun.
Okay.
But I mean, it allowed you to kind of focus because it was like a retirement area, if you
Mm-hmm.
will.
Okay.
So yeah, go Gamecocks.
I can see that. I can see that for Alabama. I started college. I didn't finish,
Okay, same here though.
unless my supervisor asked. Anyways, but yeah, I didn't finish. I was going for criminal justice at the time, and then like life stuff started happening, and it became like really overwhelming. So I kind of like took a step back. Intended to potentially finish, but growing and learning that you can still create the life of your dreams without necessarily having to complete college. I still think it serves its purpose for sure, right? I'm not knocking college; it definitely serves its purpose. But yeah, I ended up kind of like taking on a different route after not finishing pretty much. So yeah.
Yeah, no, college was great to that aspect too, being able to just take the experience because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
finish as well.
Mm-hmm.
I actually ended up going to West Georgia for a bit too, for like 2 semesters, and then
Mm-hmm.
after that it was over. Kind of got caught up in that work
Mm-hmm.
environment because,
Yeah.
I mean, in college you kind of find out in that real world if you're not on scholarship, things cost. So
Yeah.
it's like had to kind of get a job, and that's what kind of slowly drug me out of college.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the experience kind of was the better thing to get as well too.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that pre-step right into the real world versus jumping from high school straight
Straight
out
into the
into
world. fair,
Yeah,
fair.
so
Yeah, I definitely get that. It gets you start to like practice certain things. You may be like living on campus or at
yeah,
a
so
dorm, and you
uh,
start to realize, oh, life is life
yeah,
in.
yeah, so like that pre-life, yeah, indeed.
Did you, when you were a kid, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
I had those aspirations of being like a scientist. That's kind of what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be. I always used to say that, but it started to get around the realm. I was realizing I'm kind of just saying that. Like, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
like scientific stuff, but when my mom kind of tries to, buy around that, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting you,
This and that.
test tubes and
Mm-hmm.
beakers, like, I
Mm,
don't
I
like
really
that
care
stuff at
that.
school. Yeah, so that's what I thought I would be, and then of course football. So football is pretty big where I'm from in
Mm-hmm.
South Florida. I played from 5 up until 19. So, and just seeing my big brother play, I thought
Mm-hmm.
that's what we were going to be doing.
Doing
Yeah,
okay, okay. And I know from Florida people, you guys are very proud. If I don't remember nothing else about Chris Francis from high school, it was that you were from Florida.
absolutely. Yeah,
He made sure everybody knew he was from Florida. He repped it all day long, which was, it was definitely pretty cool. Like you said, high school being like a melting pot of people from all over the places. So it was a safe space to be proud of who you are, where you came from, and all of that good stuff.
absolutely.
And so now I'm going to shift into some things now.
Okay,
Chris and I connected on like healing stuff and wanting to help other people and creating an impact for, especially in our community, something that's not really talked about much or not at all.
not at all. I would say really.
Yeah. And let me bring it up here. All right. So let's start with um, your journey that led you here to the place now where you want to create an impact in like community as far as like healing goes.
Absolutely. So, I would say it kind of came from a split lesson from growing up. So the kind of first lesson of it would be my father, seeing him and my other relatives of the older scene, kind of going through medical issues that I felt like could have been avoided.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm not the absolute 100% most healthiest person, but I never really liked taking medicine or having to have surgery. And this is not knock anybody who has had surgery, as I have as well. But I felt like there was another realm to be able to kind of find that balance to bring yourself back. Like the body is really such an amazing thing. It
Mm-hmm.
really can
Heal
heal
itself.
itself, and it sounds so much like a cliche, but if the proper work is put in, it really can. So that's something that I definitely took on from a lesson, like seeing all the pills. My dad having to,
The whole
mass amount of
layer.
pills, taking all those coming from the doctors, but still seeing people pass away
Mm-hmm.
at early ages or due to still the same thing. It was like, so what was all the
The
the pills
pills
about?
for,
Yeah,
yeah.
or another thing popped up from taking those pills.
Mm-hmm.
So that side effect. So seeing that aspect, and then the other one would be I grew up very close to my dad and other men who kind of, carry that mantra of, you got to be tough, you got to push through. And those things are true, but you have to be able to have some time for yourself to be able to unleash and let go. And a lot of times that was kind of carried on as you carry that with you. You don't let
Mm-hmm.
it go. Like you
Mm-hmm.
push it to the side or you just get over it. You don't have time for yourself like you do these things for other people. I thought that kind of, that doesn't seem fair.
Fair,
Like
right.
I should be able to have some time for me to be able to control how I feel and kind of go through myself with it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
uh,
then release it from self, not carry it with
exactly,
you.
and be able to
Okay.
release it. And to release it, you kind of have to bring that to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
You can't release something that you haven't already gone through,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the whole point of it. So, being able to address those
Mm-hmm.
things that you've had going on, it led me to this point for sure.
Okay, okay. So interesting enough, you started talking about the physical ailments that you were noticing in your family, and then the conversation kind of shifted to the mental aspects of carrying those same ailments or things that are not physical ailments, but in the mental health realm. Like, what is the correlation for you when it comes on to like mental health in the home? Like thinking back of when you were a kid, like what did that look like taking care of your mental health?
Absolutely. So, kind of have a similar background to yourself in regards to. I know you're an island gal, so
Mm-hmm.
my dad is from Turks and Caicos.
Okay.
Yeah, so my family is kind of very largely known. If you ever go to Turks and Caicos, the Francis Nathaniel Building, don't forget to see it. So that's a real building that my great grandfather has down there. So kind
Nice.
of growing up in that aspect, mental health wasn't really something that was talked about for
Mm-hmm.
one. It was more so here's the structure that we abide by. This is what we do. Kind of like a that unspoken rule is.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the '90s, it kind of we still had that '80s and '70s and '60s upbringing that's what they passed on to us, our
Right.
parents. So mental health wasn't something that was really spoken about a lot. But I was a very observant kid, and I
Mm-hmm.
still am to this day. Always a little quiet. I have that opportunity to be outspoken and whatnot. But I like to observe a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I could just see the different variations from my mom to my dad to my grandma. I spent a lot of time with a lot of my family members, and I know a lot of their problems could have got solved with just a conversation. And I
Mm.
think that's kind of what unreels the mental. There's so much up here. Sometimes it has to come out, even if it's just to come out to somebody and they just listen, like not always to respond. And I noticed that part was like completely missing. It was individuals trying to handle it on their own, or just holding it in, or just skipping about, or just thinking that someone should automatically know. And that I seen drew a nice barrier in between. And one of the only things that helped kind of bring it down to the light a little bit was spirit, like God, like
Mm-hmm.
having something to believe
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. And like you said, we definitely do have similar backgrounds in the same way. Where in my household, it was not talked about. It was just kind of like this is who you are. You experience something, push through it, and then go on to the next thing. Don't really address the pains of it. The whether it be mental or physical, and just keep on pushing forward. Like we have a phrase in Jamaica we say like you have to have tough skin,
Yeah.
and that also includes like taking criticism not so well, right? And one of the things I've been doing with my son is like giving care and candor, right? You can be honest with a person and still do it in a nice way so that they're able to receive what you're telling them, right? But us growing up was just more so just a lot of candor with no real care.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dang, you're coming on, really strong about this thing or telling me to push through it when I'm telling you that right now I just need a hug or I just need to talk about it. Like you said, getting it out. Like, can you just give me the space to vent? And that's something that we definitely didn't have like in our community growing up.
Wow.
And what now are you doing in that healing space? So I was going to say, but I'm going to allow you to share what you've been working on to kind of like help improve that in especially our community, but of course for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, one of the main things that I've been doing is I've got involved in Reiki. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I've taken on, and it helps a lot. And when people hear the word, Reiki, they some know what it is and some don't. They kind of think, it's something that has to be this super wised out, wisdomous person,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really not really surrounded around that. It's just Reiki itself is like a Japanese healing technique in which you use the ultimate life force and energy to promote harmony and balance within the mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, that's kind of a scientific realm of it, but essentially, it's just controlling the energy that you can control and really allowing a connection between you and whatever spirit you have, as far as from a God standpoint, so your spirituality, and that's what
Okay.
really brings it to that. So that's something that I've started to develop,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that really took me to another realm. My wife and I, shout out to my wife,
Shout out to your wife.
it's something that we kind of started to experience together in Savannah, Georgia. As you know, that's where we're at now. That's kind of where we first went to be able to kind of experience it. And it was
Mm-hmm.
something that really took us to that next level. And we wanted to open it up even more. So,
Okay.
kind of a little bit of how I got
Okay.
involved
Okay.
in it.
So
Yeah.
you visited Savannah, and that's where you got your first Reiki experience, and that what kind of like led you into learning and doing it for others. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah. So it was just like her birthday, and we kind of set up like a sound bath massage
Mm-hmm.
experience, and we met an individual there who she was just so pure, just her energy, like
Mm-hmm.
just embracing her. Of course, it was just kind of we've already been involved kind of in the spiritual aspect itself, but meeting her really showed that wow, this thing is really serious. Like
Yeah.
you could do a whole lot if you really just focused on the mind, body, and spirit itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of attracted us to it, and just being able to take that and go ahead and do our own homework and
Mm-hmm.
own development and connecting with her even further led us to getting deep into this point where we're at now.
Okay. Has embarking on that journey, how did that affect any of your relationships? If you can think of any really good one or a really bad one, where it's like either it kind of like, how certain things that you go through, you end up like either having to leave some people behind, or for those people who don't get it, or be like, man, you're crazy, or that doesn't make sense, or it doesn't work, or it doesn't make sense to me. Or any good ones where it's just like, man, I see you, I've seen your growth, I've seen you going through all this, and I'm proud of you. Or so if you can think of one or two.
Absolutely. So I guess I'll start with the good. I would say within myself, from everything I've experienced growing up, my mental all the way wasn't really there as I started to get higher up. I started to see a lot of things that I grew up with that actually weren't it. So
Mm-hmm.
almost like where you thought your superheroes were your superheroes, and you find
Mm-hmm.
out other things, or people who I thought were very close to me
Mm-hmm.
kind of do things. So that kind of hurt pretty bad. I know I said I would start with the good, but I guess I'm going to curve it to the end. Those things kind of hurt because I'm a very loyal person, and so when my loyalty kind of gets played with, that in turn kind of really messes me up. I take that kind of hard. I'm a Pisces, so
Of course.
that's something that kind of crushes me within, and that kind of could deal with your mental as well too. So I've had a few different states where I didn't want to be around anything. I didn't want to do anything, and I started to see that I was falling kind of in the dark realm, if you will, and being so in touch with myself and within the spirit, I knew I was the one who would have to pull myself out of that. So that's kind of where I started to lean into that Reiki a little bit more. And in the sense of Reiki, what it really is it allows you to meditate. And people think about meditation as something super different that they have to do. You know, you have to know all these things, be in this certain realm, but you don't. You can meditate at any point. You can meditate driving, mowing the grass, in the bathroom. So it doesn't always have to be. Now there are different realms where you want to be in a certain position to practice, but it's really just about being quiet because meditation goes hand in hand with prayer. Prayer is when you talk to God or whoever you believe in, and then meditation is really just listening. So it's the other end. And that's why they go so well together. So meditation is having that quiet sense to be able to hear and just kind of hear what the spirit has to say. And you'll know what that is just based off the soft, calm voice of it. It's not even something you have to question when you hear the spirit's voice. And that's what allowed me to kind of pull myself out of that realm, just listening to the spirit guide me and just really talk to me as far as what I needed to do as far as steps go. So that got me out of some dark places, I would say, for the bad. As far as for the good, I'm a problem solver for me myself. That's kind of actually even what I do for a living, bank fraud, problem solving as a fraud analyst. And I've noticed that throughout my life, I've had a lot of friends and family always kind of call me with problems and things of that nature. And at one point, I started to question it, but then I tried to ask myself how it made me feel. And it felt so good to help somebody with something, whether it was me talking them out of it or providing them like a solution or just even talking about the meditation. So I never really got the realm of people like, haha, what's that, man? Like, why are you doing that? But more so, they may ask about something and may think I'm playing, but then when I give them a little detail, like, wow, are you serious? And my whole point of it is providing information and allowing them to do whatever with it that they will. Because you'll be so surprised that some people may not even tell you I'm going to do it, and then they may do it as soon as they get off the phone. So I felt that realm of just being able to help people and share the information that I could have. So as far as that good is just, it was being able to help people who may have called me with problems and get them through it by telling them a few things that they can do from the mental standpoint or just giving them some solutions at all. And I just enjoy helping people so much, which is why this connection even came to be, because I know you have that same being. It just feels good. It's like I'm that type that I would like to help and don't even need the recognition. Even if I could just happen to see, you know, like, wow, they did this for me, seeing that light or knowing that someone got to a better point.
That gleam of hope. And and like you said, what started your journey was first you were in a dark place. And I think that's necessary for anyone on a spiritual journey, regardless of like what level that is. There is going to be a season where you have to be isolated. For me, you know, it was before when my isolation happened, I wasn't sure why or what it was calling me to do. So it was like really hard. I ended up like losing some friends. I even have like a page in my journal, like when you said in a dark place, like I literally wrote down like I felt like I was in, you know, this dark place and my friends are trying to throw down ropes, but it can't reach because there's a miscommunication. Like they don't know what I'm going through, so they don't know how to help me. I don't know what I'm going through, so I don't know how to explain it back to them. And there's this phrase that people will say like, many are called and few choose themselves. Instead of many are called, few are chosen, few choose themselves. And you know, like you said, when you realize that people tend to come to you because like energy can be seen, right, and felt before it's even seen, rather. And a lot of times, people they don't understand why they come to you. I have people come to me in the same way too. It's like, you know, they don't know, you know, what it is that draws them, but again, it's that healing energy that's within you that you've been cultivating first within yourself, and it's like just emitting out and like drawing people. So people will come and just either want to share their story or just need a space to vent because they feel safe enough in your energy. They don't realize that it's my energy. They just think that, oh, she's smiling, let me talk to her. Or you know, again, just to kind of like emphasize the importance or how important it is to understand your own energy and understand why people are pulled towards you and what you know what you need to do with that, because it's the same way I've had, you know, people come to me with wanting to do this or that, and I'm realizing that I'm able to help them effortlessly and still be full, right, energetically wise, because we have to recharge as well, right? As
Absolutely,
much as
no,
we give out, we have to
absolutely,
be able
sir.
to recharge. So, learning how to recharge and being able to give freely because you're realizing that you are a wealth of abundance. And I kind of lost my train of thought
Yeah,
there.
it's fine.
But, realizing that you're a wealth of abundance and being able to give to other people is the same reason. Okay, it's natural to me. So I
Yeah,
need to
very,
do
very much
more of
natural. Yeah,
this,
yeah.
right? And that's why I started creating my brand, right? That's why you end up going to taking Reiki classes because it just comes so natural to you. And then let me shift into the next question. All right, we already talked about both of us having a vision to help people through our talents.
Yes.
And why do you feel this is especially needed in our community right now?
I feel this is needed because what we're going through is not something that's just going to go away on its own. I think we're in a very time of dark and vicious thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. But I think with everything that happens in this earth, there's a positive and a negative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of why I'm in Reiki as well, because just as there's disease and all these other things, there's natural ways to heal as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as why we need this right now in our community, if we really understood the power that we have within, it could help so much things around.
Mm-hmm.
Like energy is such a real thing, that kind of like how you spoke about. I think those who may not even realize it, like the powers that we have to do things are kind of out of this world. And
Mm-hmm.
um, an example I give kind of energy is if you've ever seen like someone who has a video camera at night and they turn it off and it kind of has a light
Mm-hmm.
and you may see like all those little sparkle things
Mm-hmm.
going on. That's energy. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I'm
They're
being
pulled
honest,
towards it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's energy. It's not bugs. You may turn the light on like, where are all those bugs? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's energy, and that stuff is really, really real. And in the wrong way, just as it can be positive, it can be dangerous too. So we really just kind of need to have that reversed and get our energy back and get things back focused on the right
Mm-hmm.
initiative to do. I think it will turn things around because that's really the difference between any old time and new time. A lot of times we relate back to the old days, or
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like that. It just was because the energy was focused on doing better things. But now it's that unfortunate power of, and we've seen many examples of it, power just kind of in the wrong realm. Like anything could be used incorrectly and
Mm-hmm.
cause a harm. Water is great for you. If we were to drink this water, it'd be great. Water at the same time, if
Could also drown you.
it could drown you as
Mm-hmm.
well too. So there's that negative. So in our community, we just need to kind of be able to shift that narrative, and that's something that we can control within ourselves. It don't cost anything. There's not anything you have to have a master's degree for. Like you literally can meditate right now, even if you're watching this. Like you can pause in this moment, get your mind together, and allow the silence, and just like that is meditation.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that in regards to like the fight, because I think we as people have been, have been kind of like fighting for, whether it be women's rights, men's rights, all these type of rights. And I've come to realize that the key towards making any real change, of course, again, it's a cliche, like any real change starts first within. And I
Absolutely.
think this is what that phrase really is talking about, right? Not just like, doing this one little thing here and there, or be like, okay, yeah, I want to be a part of the fight, or I want to do my part in helping society improve and this and that. But true change comes from one, changing up that makeup within, like you
Yeah.
said, taking our energy back. Because one, between the things that we've been eating, the things that we've been consuming, whether it be social media, the news, all of those things are being absorbed in our being.
Yeah.
And in order for us to like really fight that fight, we have to restructure that programming that's within us. Rewire our brain, rewire our thinking, rewire our DNA in a sense. And that's through, again, understanding your energy, consuming things that are good for you. Taking some breaks off of social media, because right now you're in a social media break, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those things are essential for really putting your energy in a position to actually alchemize your life,
Mm. Very well
really
said.
make that change coming from what we were taught how life should be. Like we should be struggling for the rest of our lives, right? And just keep on praying to God and then be okay. No, his plan for us was to prosper. And we're the only ones like we're in the church religiously every Sunday, but yet still we're still struggling. And when I say that too, it's not to say that things aren't going to be hard, right? It's not going to say times are tough. You may have to still go through things here and there, but you as a being should be able to handle those things and be okay and be aware enough to understand what's going on. Because, like, we also have like life cycles, right? I know
Yes.
for me, I was stuck in a cycle, and I'm like, bro, every year these same things I keep on experiencing. Like, bro, what is going on? It isn't until I started to really be aware of self and realize, like, okay, I'm creating my own reality, right, between my thoughts and the things that I'm doing. So now I need to like really shift out of that. And it's not, of course, easy work, but when you're aware, it makes it that much more easy to navigate certain things. Like, okay, if I stop doing this, then I'll stop getting this result. Or if I stop thinking this way, stop thinking that I'm supposed to struggle or I'm supposed to be have less than, then I'll start to be able to attract abundance because now I believe within my entire being that I don't have to struggle to get to where I'm going to. I can get there with ease. I can flow with ease. Again, things are still going to happen. It doesn't take away from life stuff that's going to happen,
Right.
but it just equips your mindset to stay focused on where you're going.
Mm.
And I'm going to share a little of something that has been like a theme for me these past couple weeks is like um, the story of Peter when Jesus called him to walk on the water.
Okay. Yeah, that's a
And,
good one.
and he was like, he got, he ended up falling in the water because of everything else that was going on around him. He started paying attention to it,
Lost that
right? And that's
focus.
the
Yeah.
life stuff. And God was like, bro, just focus on me. Focus on, when you focus on your goal, all of that life stuff, it doesn't matter in a sense. Like it matters, it's playing its role, it's gonna do what it has to do. But you being focused on the goal are gonna also do what you need to do to get to that goal. Right. And now speaking of the Bible, I'm gonna jump into the next question now. I know in many faith-based communities, they will say that like Reiki, sound bowl healing, meditation to a certain degree is not of the Lord and it shouldn't be used. Have you ever encountered like anyone who believes that? And what would you like say in regards to that notion?
Yeah, no, I haven't really experienced that. Because I know most people I know who are within it do have some type of spiritual realm within it. Because you have to. Because like I said, I think with the connections of it, for those who may say that's the case, um, God can't speak to you while you're speaking to Him. So when you're praying, he's not praying. He's not talking to you. It's not a phone line.
Yeah.
We call it, pick up the
Yeah.
main line with
Back to
Jesus.
back.
But even just like a phone, two people can't talk at the same time. If you and I both on the phone talking,
True.
we may hear a few words, but we're not going to hear really the message. There has to be a point that you have to be calm,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of what meditation really is in itself. So the Reiki aspect is what God has already put here for us. For those who believe everything that we need is right here, from being able to survive from a healing standpoint to the things we eat, is really already here.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it just takes resources and things to do to be able to actually find it. Um, a lot of us we're so hurt because we've strayed so far away from what actually has been here for us to heal us. And those individuals who are come with that, I think because especially from a spiritual standpoint, the devil was an angel too.
Mm-hmm.
So just as far as God is trying to protect you, he's kind of trying to do the same as well. So he knows, how to speak the angel language, if you will. So
Mm-hmm.
there are times he can say things that might sound very clear, very good. And that's why you have to have that time to be able to recharge to really hear what
To
God is
hear.
telling you. So I think it's connected in the same. There cannot be one and not the other. You have to have some type of spiritual belief. Otherwise, the
It doesn't work.
connection of the Ricky, it just won't work at all.
That is true.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do believe that, all of those holistic practices is actually taking the word and putting it into action.
Yeah.
And one of my premises wanting to be able to bridge the gap between like the church and spirituality, where it's just like they feel like the peak of spirituality is religiously showing up, every Sunday, reading your Bible. And not saying that those things are not good, they're definitely good, but there has to be action backed up by your faith, right? You have to be able to sit there and like really believe that you can speak things to be, just like how the Bible says you can call things to be. And those practices are literally aids in just that. And it was put on just like how you said, everything can be used for either a good or a bad, a negative or a positive, right? So it's like it's your intent behind the practice itself. If your intent is to still stay connected with God and being connected with Source, and not saying that, oh, I'm better, I'm above Source, right? Because that's when things get like really
Yeah,
confusing and you're doing it in the wrong way, or trying to use it to do harm to others when that's not what God called us to do, right? He called us to love our neighbors, love on each other. And I think that's where, the church is like maybe afraid of those practices just because it can be used for bad. But I'm just like, if God gave you the tool to do something good with it, why aren't you doing what He called you to do?
and that's what they call it to do. And it's like with Reiki in general, like Reiki was created by Makayo Ushi,
Mm-hmm.
And how he kind of came up with it was he was just going through some things with his family, and he decided, one day, I got to get away. I got to find something else. So he went to a mountain in Japan and took some time to kind of fast. So that's kind of what it is as well too. Is like to be able to achieve certain things, like you stated, you have to put the work in. You can receive some good things, but you have to put the work in. Everything is not going to be like an automatic door.
Mm-hmm.
Some doors are pulled. You have to actually to get into that room. Anyone can get in, and I think that's kind of where things get confused and people, start building gates and bridges. They think you have to be of a certain variety or a certain power
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be in Reiki or just for example things of that nature. But it's a room that everybody can come in. You just have to actually pull the door.
Yeah.
So going back to Ushu, like he went up to that mountain, he fasted, he kind of just sat in silence, and he was able to start to hear things and really feel that energy. The body wants to recharge, it wants to heal itself. It
Mm-hmm.
just needs to be quiet. Sometimes it needs that peace, just like going to sleep. That's why they say going to sleep heals the body the most because it's at peace. It's
Rest.
still,
Mm-hmm.
it can be able to do those things. And so meditation and Reiki kind of coincides with itself because it allows you to kind of heal being awake,
Mm-hmm.
if
Yeah,
you really
putting your body
believe.
at risk.
Yeah.
Can you share your spiritual experience having received Reiki? Like, what was that spiritual experience like for you? What was the enlightening factor?
I really allowed myself to be within it. And I think that's kind of some of the times where individuals who may even be that close kind of get a little scared and tap out. Um, the mind is going to wander, but really allowing your body to adjust to what's happening and not really fight it. So of
Mm-hmm.
course we live in that fight or flight response, but really just allowing the things to transpire and seeing where it takes you. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to be involved in it, kind of like I said, my first down bad feeling was something that locked me in amazing because I felt like I really took my body to a place that I had never went to before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was much further than a dream because I definitely was conscious, but I was able to see a different realm of myself that I could be at peace
Mm-hmm.
getting closer to this level. So it's not all achieved in one session. It's
Right.
something that you can see and you can get closer to it. And each time taking those experiences and really seeing like, wow, this could help me change. So yeah,
Okay. It's interesting. You said that it allows you to let go and allow things to be and see where it takes you.
yeah,
And as you said that, I was thinking about it's the same thing kind of like God calls us to do, right? Surrender to Him, giving up, releasing to Him and allowing things to kind of like flow and just trusting Him and trusting the process. And, experience, I haven't experienced Reiki yet, all right? But, from hearing that, I can envision it being bringing you to a place where you are releasing control, you are surrendering to source, right? Because source is within, and that's Bible, right?
absolutely,
And so giving up to source and then allowing things to flow, and that right there helps you in with all the life stuff. It helps you navigate life because now you're no longer putting up a resistance. One of my go-to mantras is life happens for you and not to you.
and
And I speak that one, especially when something bad is happening. Like I just got outside tired or, this or that. And it's like, it looks bad right now, but just trust that it's happening for you and not to you. And that's my way of, not putting up a barrier or a resistance to life happening, just allowing it and see where it takes me.
absolutely, and
Because
that,
it can go
yeah,
either one or two ways, and it's just like when we fight, I think that's when things are even much more harder, right? Imagine being in a restraint, like I'm sorry, my brain is spiraling
yeah,
now
yeah,
with thoughts. But those zip ties,
mm-hmm.
right? The easiest way to get out of them is by loosing it, relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
If
because
you tighten up
yeah,
and
it just
resist, it's gonna just
not
make it
going
worse.
exactly.
So yeah, that's definitely good to hear. Okay, I'm excited now for my first Reiki experience eventually. I
Yeah.
don't know when yet, but it's definitely in the books. Okay. And now, how has it transformed your own life? Right now, thinking back, we talked about high school, and how has it transformed now how you live your life compared to what you were conditioned to think as a younger man or younger boy?
Absolutely. It's really helped me to be a lot more optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even in the midst of the storm. Like it's allowed me to be calm in times of this isn't a calm time.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of growing up, and it's not that I was raised in like chaos, but the ability to kind of think in those moments to kind of have that same mental clarity wasn't something that was really kind of taught. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, we kind
Had
of
to
have to,
figure
we
it
got to do
out.
something now,
Mm-hmm.
or it might even be matched with aggression and anger and those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things, which
Mm-hmm.
end up leading to mistakes and accidents and stuff like that. So seeing immediate anger a lot of times kind of is what something that made me seek out like maybe another solution.
Mm-hmm.
especially with what we have in the world now today. That quick to anger is what kind of causes, uh, that frustration. Because anger is really just being hurt about a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we take the time to kind of, even though we have gotten hurt, just to think about the process to heal, that's something that really has helped change me. Um, it's allowed me to think in that realm. So I've gone through so many different things since that time frame, and I could see the difference in how I thought.
Handle it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
as it comes to the outcome, just kind of really getting back to that mode. Just thinking about being holding yourself accountable to what you were doing. So if I'm meditating to myself, and this is just even a general example, not even someone who's super high up in a meditation realm or Reiki realm. If I'm walking to the mailbox and I'm thinking, you know what, today's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna feel good. Um, I'm gonna smile a lot and get in the car and go to the stop sign, uh, get to the next light. Somebody cut me off, so having that accountability, what did I just say to myself, or what did I say to
Mm-hmm.
myself
Mm-hmm.
earlier? That doesn't mean that you may not get it a little bit angry, but before you can get yourself to that next level of realm, taking control of the thought. So it's not stopping the thoughts; it's taking control
Control.
of it and being able to distinguish, hey, this is something I should keep within me, or I should spread this out and get rid of that.
Mm-hmm. I hope y'all caught that. Because it's the same thing too that has like helped me. It's like I said, all the life stuff is still there, but you handle it completely differently.
Absolutely.
Unlike you, I was raised in chaos. My household it thrives in chaos in a way, and so that used to be a lot of my persona. Whenever I get angry, like I would get as sweet as I can be. Is as angry I used to be able to get. I don't allow myself to get there anymore because that's also a lower vibrational energy,
Yeah,
right? And
for
we don't
sure.
want that for ourselves. So now when the chaos arises, I'm smiling. I'm having a good day. Like you said, when you set that intent by telling yourself that you're going to have a good day, you're taking control of the course of your day. And even when things like, because I've had situations where too somebody like cut me off, but because I made the decision to have a good day, I'm smiling. I'm not in no rush. You rushing, right? I could have been angry, and of course, like you said too, there are times when we do get angry, right? We are human, so it's not to say that I'm perfect or being self-aware is going to make everything all peachy cream. No, but again, it does put you in a position to take control of that thought, and when you can take control of your thought, you can take control of your life.
Absolutely.
And that's the message here, guys. So we're gonna wrap up with a funny little story. So again, we were friends in high school. I think we became really cool our senior year.
Yeah,
Was it,
about that
or was
senior
it
year.
junior
Yeah, I think it
year?
was a junior year
Probably
with
junior
that.
year.
Yeah.
And it was me, Chris, and our third friend at the time, which was my high school best friend, and we were in a group. I don't know what type of group it was, but you have to tell them the name of the group.
I think it was two fly guys and a fly girl. I mean, two fly girls and a fly guy.
Or
Yeah,
something
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 like
along
that.
the lines
Yeah,
of that. It was just
something about
like
the
fly
fly.
guy and fly girls or
Yeah,
something of the sort
yeah,
of
something
that.
like that.
Y'all, I have no idea what this group was about. We didn't do anything
Nothing.
other than like hanging out, of course,
Yeah,
as a group,
yeah,
and like we
yeah,
would be in
yeah.
computer class and playing around. I don't know why we felt like we need to give ourselves a name.
It may, when you put a name on something, it kind of makes that group feel, worthy. If
Exclusive.
you will, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were
Not
trying
that
to.
we felt unworthy, but it made something that felt like a society.
Yeah,
Something to be like we were just talking about being accountable to.
yeah,
So, and that group was just built off, just good vibes. And so, it wasn't something that you came to the negative with, and just even our minds unconsciously, we might even thought about that, like, this would be something good for the group. So it allowed that energy. We controlled that, the focus,
yeah.
just even at that time. That's what that was, because we could have created that group to rob houses or something of that nature. You know what I mean? But we kept it for
Fly
a
guy
positive
robbing
reason.
houses.
Yeah, yeah. So
We gotta put that on a
that
t-shirt now.
that black out robbing houses. So it helped create that realm, and that control is it just is energy is so what's the word for it? Contagious. It really
Okay, I
is.
was thinking magnetic. Yeah.
It's contagious. Something just as simple as if we were all at a store walking and somebody was, about to drop something off their cart and two people helped them carry it, like everybody will be looking to make sure there's no wall on the
Mm-hmm.
floor. So that energy right there, that's something that sparked out versus if someone was coming to the store, somebody's tripped somebody and they got into a fight and now they're yelling, like everybody else's energy is a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more
Off.
round up.
Yeah.
So those are just small examples right there of how energy is contagious. And so that group, the
Yeah.
fly
It was
guys and the fly
energy.
girl, or reverse, I keep saying it that way. It was good energy, and that allowed us to even seek that out, whether we knew it or not, unconsciously in other
Mm-hmm.
realms of our life. Like, okay, let me seek out another,
Mm-hmm.
some cool people in that cool group like that. So,
Yeah.
nah, that was
Interesting.
good.
You are so right because, like you said, we didn't have a definite purpose or a definition of what the group did or what we were about. But you're right. It's just because we clicked together energetically in a good way. Anytime we were together, it was just all laughs, a good time, going through stuff, whether it was copying each other's homework
Yeah,
or
yeah,
goofing off while
sometimes.
in the computer room. So it's pretty cool to like watch that fast forward into now us reconnecting again
Absolutely.
on that same notion, on that same energy, being vibrating. And that's something too I've been trying to focus on in this season is making sure that everyone that I connect with, there's an alignment there,
Absolutely.
right? Because then a
Absolutely.
small misalignment could change the entire trajectory of where you're going.
Yeah.
But when things align, so yeah, I'm really excited to see how things came full force. And you guys will likely see Chris again in here. I didn't tell him that, but now he knows. So now I got to hold you accountable.
Absolutely.
Of
I'll be
course,
here
there's
for
no
sure.
pressure here, but
Yeah.
that's it, guys. Thank you for joining us here in the podcast episode. I'll be sharing you're not much yet on social media, so you
Yeah.
don't care about handle being shared and all that stuff.
Yeah, nah. Well, I'm
Okay.
sure we have other collaborations that are coming about
Definitely,
that
definitely,
will
definitely.
definitely help. So,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. I appreciate you for having me. It's been great. Always good catching up. Shout
Thank
out
you.
MLK,
Yes,
class of
I forgot. How
2010,
can I forget? Class
class
of
of
2010,
2010. Shout
2010.
out
Now we're
King.
telling our age. That was
Oh
that was
yeah.
what 3 decades
At this point, for sure.
ago. But all right. Until next time, guys. Bye. Okay.